Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This is the Tailgate Committee. Week 5 of the college football season is here. I'm Andy Hopper with Tom Scavetta and Noah Dibler, breaking it all down once again, chopping it up and talking some ball with the boys. This is the Tailgate Committee. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Tailgate Committee. We're on YouTube at the Tailgate Committee. Make sure you like and subscribe there. Like this video, subscribe, tell a friend who tells a friend who tells a friend. We're over on Twitter at the Tailgate.com. So let's jump right into this. We've got a recap of last week. We've got a segment for you. We've got our six-pack, and we've got our lock of the week. And we're going to go right into our week 4 recap, and I'm not going to hide from it, boys. My team got absolutely mollywopped on primetime last week. I talked a lot of shit. I said Indiana doesn't beat any good teams. Well, they beat the shit out of my team. Really frustrating. To lose, yes, I can handle losing. But when you get your fucking shit shoved in a locker like they did on Saturday night, it is not fun. Kurt Cignetti likes to run up the score, and he certainly did. So Illinois goes into the game without Xavier Scott and Juice Clark, so that's 2 starting defensive backs. Xavier Scott, arguably your best defensive player next to Gabe Akis. During the course of the game, they lose 6 of their top 7 defensive backs to injury. Miles Scott got ejected on a BS targeting call, if you ask me. You were without Justin Bowick. Aiden Lawfrey was available but didn't play. The run game ends with 2 yards rushing. Unacceptable. The offensive line gave up 8 sacks. They couldn't handle pressure. Special teams was terrible. They had a blocked punt for a touchdown. They couldn't get their personnel right on a 4th and 1. Were forced to use a timeout. Indiana ends up going for it instead of punting. 2 plays later, they score a touchdown. There's 14 points. It started with that block punt. Illinois responded right away with a 60-yard touchdown. I'm like, all right, we got punched in the mouth, but we're still here. What Brett Bielema's teams, how they win is by not beating themselves and making stupid mistakes. They made a lot of stupid mistakes, and they got out-coached. They got outclassed. They got outplayed. Very clear that they are not as good as we thought they were. And it sucks, man, because it really, really makes me worried. You got Big Noon Kickoff is coming to Champaign on Saturday for the first time, and you got USC. You got Lincoln Riley, one of the best offensive coaches in the country, and Jaden Mayala and all of the skill players that USC had. How are you going to stop them? If you lose Matthew Bailey, potentially out with the concussion. Xavier Scott is now going to be missed most of the year. He's going to have surgery. You're supposed to get Caleb Patterson back. Miles Scott will be back. Torrey Cox, I believe, will be back. But it is not good. Aaron Henry has his work cut out for him, and a season that was being talked about as potential another 10-win. Maybe an 11-1 Cinderella type run to the college football playoff is looking less likely. I mean, it's inexcusable. You were ranked number 9 in the country, and you just lost by 53 points. Brett Bielema made some comments. They're going to have to look at how they, change how they do their protections, with the offensive line, because they can't block anybody. It's, they gave up 4 sacks in the first half against Duke. And Kurt Cignetti was very honest. Like, he was like, look at that tape. Like, we knew if we brought pressure, like, it was game over. And he said, we broke their will. They certainly fucking broke Illinois' will, because it was very clear by halftime that they were done. I don't know if it's the personnel. You returned all 5 starters in the offensive line from last year. They've played together for multiple years. You added in some talented transfers last year, in J.C. Davis, who could have gone to the NFL draft, decided to come back. I don't know if it's miscommunication with the tight ends. I mean, the running backs have got to help blocking as well. Luke's got to be able to get the ball out quicker, but man, that was an eye opener. Brett was talking about how, the response is what it's going to define the year, because those are the type of games that can absolutely derail a season that was all hyped up. And seen a lot of Illini fans just completely pressing the panic button on social media, and I totally get that, and I am to a certain extent. But oof, and it's hard not to, because it's like our entire lives as Illinois fans is don't get your hopes up, don't get your hopes up. They're gonna just completely rip your hearts out. And now you start to think back to last year. Did they overachieve with 10 wins last year? They returned 18 starters. Did they just get lucky? What there's a lot of stuff going through our head in Champaign. What I do know is Indiana's a very good football team. They're legit. I won't question them anymore. And I got a lot of questions about Illinois, and they have to be answered very, very fast. I mean, you just got absolutely dominated. And even I was talking about the injuries and the guys they lost. That didn't even matter. Indiana whooped their ass either way. I don't think we would have won. I was very much mistaken in my assessment, which I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. But they made Fernando Mendoza look like a fucking Heisman candidate. He was 21 for 23, 267 yards, 5 touchdowns. Kobe Martin had 12 carries for 107 yards, 2 scores. Black had 10 carries for 89 yards and a score. So couldn't stop a fucking nosebleed on defense, and actually couldn't stop a nosebleed on the offensive line either. So, woof, that one made me shit my pants a little bit, fellas. I will be honest with you. So we're scared. I've seen some people on Twitter saying that we won't win another game. I'm not going to go that far. Is the USC game going to be really tough? Yeah. Ohio State game going to be tough, if not impossible? Yeah. And all the rest of them, you better hold on in your seat of your pants and hope somebody can fucking play defense and we can block somebody. But yeah, brutal. Very brutal. We don't need to talk about it anymore. That was enough, probably, right? Yeah, you guys have no thoughts on this game and don't want to make me cry the rest of the podcast. So, OU Auburn, the next game we're going to go to, fellas. Oklahoma gets the win. A crazy ending for anybody that had Oklahoma minus 6.5. My God, what a bad beat if you had Auburn. But 24-17, the final score. Jackson Arnold got sacked 10 times in his return home. John Mateer looked pretty good when he needed to. They get the win, but bad news. He has a broken bone in his hand. He's out for about a month. Should return at some point this season. Tom, I'll start with you on this one. OU and the Tigers. What did you think about that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big question mark in this game was how is the Sooners defense going to look against a legit SEC opponent? And they proved it. Brent Venables has done a really good job redefining this defense, and R. Mason Thomas makes the game-winning play. And I'll say it, the Sooners are back, regardless of Mateer's injury or not. Defensively, they will keep them in games. They had 9 sacks, 2.5 from Jaden Jackson, 2 from R. Mason Thomas. Jackson Arnold, his homecoming was spoiled. He had comments for a fan post game when heading to the tunnel. He says, "You wish you were me," in quotes. That's what he said to this fan. Arnold on the day was 21 of 32 for 220 yards and 1 passing touchdown. When I look at John Mateer, so I believe the injury is on his throwing hand, unfortunately. So I think they have a bye this week. Then they play Kent State. You don't need him for either of those 2 weeks. At Texas is the problem. I believe their backup is Michael Hawkins Jr. So this is likely the face you are going to see against Texas, against an Arch Manning-led Longhorns team. But all in all, guys, Auburn falling out of the rankings, as they should. They're not a bad team. I'll give Hugh Freeze some credit. They stuck in there. It was a 5-point game up until the very end. But the Sooners have weapons. They have weapons. But Mateer, he's a dual threat quarterback. The question is, how are they going to adapt, right? And I think this will really test Brent Venables as a head coach. Let's see what they try to do against Kent State to help them prepare for the meat of their SEC schedule. And that's what I really want to see happen. But overall, I was impressed by the Sooners. Such an unfortunate injury to the most important player on the team.
That's true. I mean, Mateer has looked like one of the best, if not the best, quarterback so far this year. Certainly impressive. He's leading the SEC in passing yards to this point. Big loss for Oklahoma. Hawkins got some experience last year, started some games, so it's not like they're just throwing somebody to the wolves. It's nice that they'll get a bye and then a little tune up against Kent State, whew, not good. Um, and then I will say, I don't think Jackson Arnold's the reason that Auburn lost that game. I thought he performed pretty well. I mean, obviously, some 10 sacks is bad. It's not all on the offensive line. Obviously, some of that has got to be put on the quarterback as well. But for a return back like that, I mean, I tip my hat to the kid. Went out fighting. Also, I don't know if you saw this. The Sooners' first touchdown was technically an illegal play. Did you see that the SEC came out after the game and said that it should have been called back and not counted? Noah, what do you think about the Sooners and the Tigers, our resident SEC connoisseur?
Well, I think the game kind of went how I expected. I picked Oklahoma to win. I think Auburn is a decent team this year, and I agree with Tom. I will give Hugh Freeze some credit because he was definitely a guy coming in the season that a lot of people, including I think we said on the very first show, that would be a hot seat candidate.
Uh-huh.
And he's done a solid job so far. But I got to give Venables a lot of credit, guys, and I think he's doing what I expect him to do at Oklahoma because I mean for years, guys, Oklahoma was a team that just they could not stop a nosebleed on defense, and now you're already starting to see with Venables and his defensive background what he is doing transforming that defense. I mean, we've seen him before with, some of those Clemson teams. They had no offense. The reason they were competitive during those down years was because their defense was absolutely amazing. And a lot of that was because of Brent Venables. And I think you're seeing that with a team like this. As for the ref thing, I understand it was a bad call, but look, a loss is never solely on one call. If I think the proper quote, something like that, is never have a game be so close that one call can decide the outcome. Because if that can happen, you didn't do enough to win the game, and that's how I feel about this one. Oklahoma was the better team. Refs aren't responsible for the fact that Jackson Arnold got sacked like 9 times. That they really couldn't. Move the ball down the field. That they were 3 for 15 on third down as well. That was another big one. The fact they had 13 penalties for 85 yards. I mean, they were just undisciplined in this game, which to be fair, I do think they can be inspected. This still is a young team going on the road. Definitely was the biggest game of the season. But credit to Oklahoma, I mean, they got it done. It was a tight game, probably like most people expected. But they got the win, and while it does suck to lose Mateer, there are some silver linings. First of all, they have a bye week this week, so that gives them some more time to recover. And like you guys already pointed out, their first game without him is going to be against Kent State, who almost lost to Merrimack this season, and is definitely one of those more type of tune-up games. I do think, however, that South Carolina game could be difficult. I know they've lost 2 games, but I mean, still going on the road with potentially a backup quarterback, that is obviously not an ideal scenario. But I really think they would want to have him back by Ole Miss in particular, because Ole Miss looks like a really solid team this year. That is not a team you want to go into with a backup quarterback. Of course, we could always just be totally surprised and their backup comes in and lights it up like nothing has changed, and it's totally irrelevant. I mean, that's possible as well. But just for this game in particular, Oklahoma got it done. They just had a little bit more of an edge, I think, especially defensively on this one, just absolutely wrecking it up in the trenches. But yeah, I mean, how about this wide receiver, guys? Isaac, I'm probably gonna totally butcher this dude's name. Sategna the third, man. 9 catches, 127, a touchdown. What a game for the young man. Defensively as well, Jaden Jackson, 2.5 sacks. Mason Thomas with 2 sacks as well. Good job by him. 14 tackles for loss as a team as well. Just solid defensive effort. And once again, I think a lot of that is down to the coaching of Brent Venables. I think he's doing a very good job. I'm not surprised that it's happening. I thought people were a little bit reactionary to that Oklahoma team last year. It takes some time to build something like this. But I think he's got it in place now. And like I said last week, I think they're going to be in CFP contention as long as they can survive this injury. With a win like this, with the defense they have, they're looking in really good shape for sure.
I loved the coach speak there earlier. It was elite coach speak from Noah. If it comes down to one call, you didn't do enough to win the game. This guy, I'd hire him to build a program. I'd definitely hire him to build a program. All right, so let's move on. Texas Tech goes into Utah, 34-10 win, guys, and this was never close. Noah, we're going to go right back down to you. You and I picked the Utes last week. Tom's been super high on the Red Raiders. We are going to post a clip back from week 1 when he predicted this, so be on the lookout for that. What did you make of this performance from Texas Tech?
Yeah, man, I thought this was, first of all, like you said, I picked the Utah to win this game. I thought it would be close, but I gave Utah the edge, especially at home. But man, I mean, Texas Tech went in there, and it wasn't even close, like you said. First of all, I mean, the story, we were discussing the quarterbacks last week, 2 solid quarterbacks, I think, in Dampier and Morton. They weren't really, the deciding factor in this game. First of all, this Will Hammond guy came in, and he just absolutely lit it up. 13 of 16 for 169 and 2 touchdowns. He was accurate. He was mobile as well. He had 61 yards on the ground. Cameron Dickey as well, their running back, with 2 touchdowns, over 5 yards per carry as well. But I mean, obviously, the main story, guys, is the defense. I mean, Utah 4 for 14 on 3rd down, 0 for 2 on 4th down, couldn't run the ball, 3.3 yards per carry. And get this, 4.3 yards per attempt through the air. That is just absolutely never going to get it done. I also mentioned the 2 interceptions as well. Texas Tech had 14 penalties in this game, but it didn't really matter because Utah turned the ball over 4 times. It was just very impressive. Obviously Tom deserves some credit as well. He picked Texas Tech in this game. He was glazing them in week 1 as, one of his dark horse type of teams as well. And they've shown it so far. I mean, this just, once again, I mean, it wasn't the biggest blowout of the weekend, obviously. I mean, that Illinois-Indiana game was just absolute embarrassment. But Texas Tech, man, what an impressive win.
100%. Yeah. We don't need to bring that up again. No, I thought I made that clear at the beginning of the show that we were going to talk about it again, but all right. Yeah, you are 100% right, though. Just fucking embarrassing all around. Fire Robbie Dercher and fire Bart Miller, please. Tom, your Texas Tech Red Raiders 34, Utah Utes 10. Your thoughts on the game?
I don't know if they're mine, but they're my dark horse of the season, guys. And there's a reason why second most amount of money spent in NIL this past offseason, and that's what changes the game. You got clowns like Dabo that can adapt, and that's what happens. You got guys like Joey McGuire that can. My dark horse, Texas Tech. As far as making the CFP and potentially winning the Big 12.
Okay.
Joey McGuire and James Blanchard went on a spending spree this offseason. They have one extremely rich donor. I won't name who it is, but he is really, really into their football program, and he's invested a lot of money. Baron Morton returns better than ever at the quarterback position. He's finally healthy. They got an excellent trio of wide receivers in Caleb Douglas, Reggie Virgil, and Coy Eakin. In my opinion, that's the best wide receiver trio in the Big 12. With the Red Raiders last year, their offense was not the problem. They averaged 38 points per game. The defense was the issue. So what did they do? They dipped their hand in the transfer portal. They got David Bailey, who was awesome with Stanford last season. 7 sacks and 5 forced fumbles. They may go undefeated in Big 12 play this season, guys. They beat Utah convincingly. And what makes this even more embarrassing, and again, I think this quarterback's going to be really good, but Baron Morton left the game with an injury in the first half. This brought Will Hammond in the game. He was the highest graded quarterback this week in all of college football, week 4. He went 13 of 16 for 169 yards and 2 touchdown passes. He also had 8 rushes for 61 yards. And this is a first half where Baron Morton didn't look all that great. He threw 2 interceptions. But the real story was, guys, the Texas Tech defense. Jacob Rodriguez was awesome. He had 1 interception. Bryce Pollock as well had a pick. Devin Dampier looked off. He had 2 picks. The Utes had 4 turnovers in this game. That is not a recipe for winning. I will say one area the Red Raiders must clean up, 14 penalties for 122 yards. That's a problem. Also, good news for McGuire and company. Baron Morton expected to be back post-bye, so they have their idle this week. He'll be back next week for another Big 12 matchup. And a lot of people were picking Utah to be one of the top contenders this year in the Big 12. And a lot of people were buying into that. It's a tough place to play. Texas Tech went on the road. And let's be real, guys. The score might have been close till late in the second half. Texas Tech controlled the whole game. They controlled the tempo. Utah could not score. They could not score. It was a field position game. And that's okay. Sometimes games are won that way. And you got to give a running back like Cameron Dickey a lot of credit, who had 2 touchdowns. He's really good in the red zone and short yardage situations. That Texas Tech offensive line moves like poetry, guys. They are awesome. Watch all 5 of those guys move once the ball is snapped. Each of them knows where they're supposed to be positioned, where they need to be, who their guy is, who the hell they are sending to the ground, and pancaking on each play. That is a recipe for success. The meat and potatoes ideology on the show is more often than not abused, but I will bring it up in this instance where if you cannot stop the run, you will not win football games. And that's what Utah couldn't do. Texas Tech continues to roll. They're undefeated. And right now, guys, they're up there with Iowa State. They're hot. They are real scorching hot.
The Red Raiders are hot, ladies and gentlemen. I'd take them over the Cyclones as of today. But yeah, their defense was just awesome. They held Utah, I believe, 262 yards and 4 interceptions, something around there. And then, yeah, you talk about what Will Hammond's able to do coming in cold off the bench, taking advantage of his opportunity. I know I said it wasn't really close earlier. The score was close until the fourth quarter, but, you give up 24 points in the fourth quarter, and that's how you lose 34-10. So last game we have on the card from week 4 is in the Big Ten. Michigan 30, Nebraska 27. I picked Nebraska, and I really thought, man, if it's not this big game, when is it going to be for Nebraska? They give up 3 long touchdown runs, just real backbreakers. Defensively, didn't seem to get right. Wannabe Mahomes, Dylan Raiola was okay. There's nothing that he does that really, jumps out at me. Obviously, they had that crazy Hail Mary at the end of the first half. So a hell of a throw by him. So I'll tip my cap there, but probably a better catch. But Tom, I'll start with you on this one. Michigan takes care of business. Bryce Underwood looks pretty good, unfortunately. What was your take on Michigan over Nebraska?
Never take the Cornhuskers in a big game. Even with Matt Rule as the head coach. Bryce Underwood chopped some wood on Saturday against Nebraska. Justice Haynes is the face of that offense. He averaged 9 yards. The Wolverines as a team averaged 9 yards per carry. They ran for 290 yards and 3 touchdowns. Haynes had 17 of those carries for 159 yards and 1 score. Jordan Marshall, 6 rushes for 80 yards and 1 touchdown. They outrushed the Cornhuskers 290-43. 99 times out of 100, the team with 290 compared to the 43 is going to win the football game. It's that simple. That is not a good ratio for the latter. Underwood, look, he's a dual threat. He lost that fumble. He was a little shaky through the air, but he's slippery, man. He could make winning plays, and that's what matters in the Big Ten. You're not going to get these crazy high-scoring games every week, although this one was on that side of the spectrum. It doesn't mean that'll be the case every week. With Underwood, it goes to show you he can win a big game on the road. Even though this Nebraska team is not ranked, it doesn't mean that they're not good. There's some good, talented players on this team. Unfortunately, a lot of their damage was done through the air, Nebraska, and a lot of it was playing catch up, right? Raiola threw for over 300 yards, one costly interception, and you got to give that Wolverines defense a lot of credit that helped cause that interception and other negative plays for the Cornhuskers. Ernest Hausman, 9 tackles and 1 sack. Rashawn Benny and Derek Moore had 1.5 sacks each. Jashawn Borum, possible day 2 pick in next year's draft, had a sack as well. So their defense is still up to par from previous seasons. So all in all, Michigan might keep climbing up the rankings, guys. There's just something about them. The NCAA keeps trying to kick them. You don't want to kick them too much when they're down because they're always in the mix, and they will continue to be in the mix in Big Ten play this season.
Yeah, definitely impressive. They go on the road, they get it done. In Lincoln, it's a tough place to play, man. No matter how good or bad Nebraska is, they will sell that thing out. They'll be loud. I've heard from multiple people that it's a great place to go watch a game, and they're very nice to opposing fans too. So we'll see. Fuck both of them though, Michigan and Nebraska. Yeah. So like Raiola was 30 for 41 for 308 yards, 3 touchdowns and interceptions. So I don't want to. I kind of downplayed his performance earlier, and I don't want to do that. But Tom, you said it. They were playing from behind. They had to throw the ball, and they couldn't run it really. I mean, Johnson had 19 carries for 65 yards. He's averaging 3.5 yards a carry. So, I don't know, but still, I'm just not impressed. I'd be impressed if he led the team and won the game, didn't throw that back-breaking interception. No, what do you think about this one in the Big Ten?
Well, I mean, as you know, guys, I'm actually very familiar with Dylan Raiola. He was originally committed to UJ, and I want to give a big shout out to Kirk Herbstreit, man. Convincing this guy to transfer to Nebraska. I hope he's enjoying it over there with humiliating close losses like this one. Hopefully it was worth it. But yeah, man. I mean, once again, never pick Nebraska in a big game. I even said this last week. I picked Nebraska. I was like, don't really feel too good about this. I normally wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it. That's never happening again. Never for the rest of my life am I picking Nebraska to win a close game again. But the reason I did pick them, guys, was I thought they would have a big quarterback advantage in this game. And to be fair, when you look at the stats, at least passing wise, I think that kind of showed up. Like you said, Andy. Raiola completed 30-41, over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, but he did have a big interception. Whereas on the other side, Bryce Underwood 12 of 22 for, only 105 yards. But where this Michigan team excels, and, not to use a cliche, but, they have a very meat and potatoes philosophy with this team. Running the football, man. That's where Bryce Underwood excels and adds the offense as well. 61 yards for him and a touchdown. But I mean, obviously, the story of the game is Justin Haynes, as usual. This dude is just insane. 149 yards, 8.8 yards per carry, and a touchdown. I mean, even when they lost to Oklahoma, guys, the main reason they were still in the game was because Justice Haynes is just a guy that can break off a 75-yard run, in the blink of an eye, pretty much. And that's what happened in this game for sure. But got to credit Jordan Marshall as well, their other running back, at 80 yards and a touchdown in this game on only 6 carries. But, like Tom said, I think it came down to a few things. First of all, for me, once again, third down conversions are critical in games like this. Michigan wasn't amazing at it. They were 4-12, but Nebraska 2 of 13. I mean, that's just never, ever going to get it done. And another big thing as well, they were outrushed 290 yards to 43, which is terrible. In Nebraska's defense, however, they could have gotten outrushed 312-2. And they did not do that like another unnamed team did. But yeah, man, good win for Michigan. And I think they only have really, I mean, they could always slip up, right? Because the Big Ten is a tough conference. Just look at their schedule. They have 2 main games left that I think will be critical for this season, which is at USC and the big game at the very end of the year. If they can, end the season with 2 losses, I definitely think they could sneak in as one of those, kind of wild card teams towards the bottom half of the rankings. And if they sneak in, man, I mean, I'll be interested to see what Bryce Underwood, how he develops the rest of the season. It is easy to forget this was only like his 4th career start, and he's a freshman. But they have the running game, they have the defense. Whether or not they have the coaching, that remains to be seen. I need to see more from Sharon Moore to really, kind of get a read on that. And obviously, he did miss this game as well, so we can't give him any credit or criticism for this one. But yeah, good win. Nebraska, Raiola, another absolutely embarrassing choke for this poor team. Matt Rule, he's ruined his decision to join this team, I bet. But yeah, good job, Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Underwood is a true dual threat guy. 8 carries, 61 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, averaging 7.6 yards per carry. Michigan as a whole, 31 carries for 290 yards on the ground, average 9.4 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. Haynes had a 75-yard score. Marshall's was a 54-yard score. Bryce Underwood's was a 37-yard score. The Nebraska defense is going to have to go back and look at that tape. Just like the other team you mentioned that gave up 300 rush yards to only 2. Noah, again, I might have to suspend this guy. Like, this is ridiculous, Tom. Where'd you find him at? Never
Georgia.
mind that. In Georgia. Yeah, I know. They're not used to shitty football down there. Bring Mark Rick back.
Wow.
Man. So that's our week 4 recap. Let's go on to our segment for the week. This is the hot seat, boys, and it's an interesting one. We'll call ourselves fortune tellers on the podcast. So we picked 4 guys. One of those 4 guys was fired today before we could record. So we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're still going to do hot seat. We're still going to talk about the other 3 guys that we think, that are off to a slow start that could be on the hot seat, but one of those is confirmed. So Oklahoma State has fired Mike Gundy. He has been there forever. Noah, what'd you say? He's been the coach since you were like 5.
Yep, pretty much.
It's been a while. So they have moved on from him. They just lost to Tulsa at home, and they looked just awful the whole game. And that was the first time I think Tulsa beat Oklahoma State since like the 50s. So it's been a while. They got embarrassed at Oregon. It was like 69-0, 69-3 or something like that. Potentially the worst Power 5 team. Obviously UCLA is up there. Power 4 team. UCLA is up there. So he's now the third coach. So Brent Pry, Deshaun Foster, add Mike Gundy to the wall. I saw a tweet that said they gave him the option to announce his retirement and finish the year, and he declined. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I will say this. This is a tweet from Brett McMurphy. Mike Gundy spent more than half his life, 35 of 58 years, at OSU as a player, assistant, or head coach. Before Gundy, OSU had 4 winning seasons in 16 years. Gundy had 18 straight winning seasons, 9th longest in NCAA history for a coach at one school. That's from Brett McMurphy. So, I mean, you tip your cap to this guy. I mean, he's been there forever. It's just kind of one of those things where he just kind of lost it. You get older and you don't adapt to the time. So 21 seasons, he's out. I'm trying to look to see if there was some type of buyout. Surely he had some type of buyout or something.
I have it.
What you got it, Tom? Hit me.
What's
the buyout?
So
What's the buyout?
His contract ran through 2028. So he was owed $6.75 million in 2025, and he was supposed to get a $125,000 raise annually. So the buyout officially is going to be a little bit more than what they owed him this year. Actually just lost the exact number. I had it, but basically it's looking like it wouldn't have mattered, guys, if they fired him now or if they fired him next year. The numbers would have been very, very, very similar, and the number is $15 million. That's the number. I just saw it, and that's according to Front Office Sports. So that's not good. That is not good at all.
Not good for Oklahoma State. That's nice for Mike Gundy. $15 million to not coach. Thank you. I will be taking that. Tom, I'll start.
Hold on. All right. If they had negotiated, I forgot to add this, it would have been $25 million to buy out at the end of the season.
Oh, so they saved themselves $10
million.
Which
makes 0 cents. Yes. By doing it now, which makes 0 cents, by the way.
So do you think this is the right move for Oklahoma State, Tom? We'll start with you.
Yeah. Look, they had to move on. He's been there forever. It stinks. But reducing this to a $15 million number is the right move for Oklahoma State. You save $10 million by doing this. And all in all, you have to start winning football games. I mean, they lost 11 out of their last 12, right? You look at their last 5 years, 12-2, 7-6, 10-4, and then 3-9 last season. And now they're 1-2 to start this season. 100% it's the correct move.
Noah, do you agree? Is this the right move for Oklahoma State?
I do. I do agree it's unfortunate because he's been there a very long time. He's done a lot for that program, but I mean, you can't go 3-9 last year and start this year 1-3, and expect your job to be very safe. You know, it's a very much a what have you done for me lately type of thing. It doesn't matter if he was, good for 18 years. If you have one bad year and a bad start to another year, it's kind of tough to justify it unless you're a national championship winning coach or whatever, and you can justify, well, maybe you can get the team back that level. Oklahoma State's never been something like that, and it's not just the fact they're losing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think the Tulsa loss is a very bad look, but the Oregon game, like, what the hell was this? Like, Jesus, man, 69-3 loss. I mean, guys, can you imagine what it feels like to have a blowout loss in a massive game where your team gives up over 60 points?
Couldn't tell you what that feels like.
Yeah, like exactly. But I do think it's I do think it's the right call. I feel a little bit for him because I think he was a likable coach. But man, I'm just gonna end this off with one line I saw. I can't take credit for it because I did see it in a YouTube comment first, but I'm a man. I'm fired.
God damn it. The old boy's on fire in week 5. I will say this guy came to play. Sure I agree with you guys. I think it's the right move. It's just kind of like, it's very much you've been here for 21 years. What have you done for me lately? And this is a hard hole to dig out of, for sure. So let's talk quickly. Who should they hire to replace him? Should they go with somebody that has head coaching experience? Should they go with a young coordinator? I was trying to see what kind of names are out there. So this is from CBS Sports. They have G.J. Kinney, Texas State head coach, who's done a very good job down there, and has been able to build a very competitive roster down there. Texas State going to the Pac-12, right? Or something like that, which is weird. Texas A&M offensive coordinator Colin Klein. Nebraska offensive coordinator Dana Holgerson. So this is a guy who won a lot of games at West Virginia, took his lumps, got fired. Now the Nebraska OC. Falcons offensive coordinator Zach Robinson listed on here, which trouble in paradise. It's not a good thing when the head coach announces your OC is coming down to the field next week to call the plays. They have Purdue coach Barry Odom, North Texas coach Eric Morris, Miami offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson, Oregon offensive coordinator Will Stein. So of this list, so this is just from CBS Sports. I'm sure there's others that are being talked about. Any of these names stand out to you guys as like, this is who they should go after? Tom, you're nodding your head. Do you have a guy that you think jumps out here?
We just spoke to him today, and it's Eric Morris out of North Texas, man. What this guy has done, he's a disciple of the late, great Mike Leach, and he's also a disciple of Cliff Kingsbury as well. They went from 5 wins in 2023 to a first responder bowl bid last season, now to this year's 4-0 start, which includes recent wins against Noah's Washington State Cougars and Army.
No.
Look, he's taken a similar path of some players that on his team have taken to get here. He was previously at Incarnate Word, where he helped and developed Cam Ward, by the way, while he was there. And he was the offensive coordinator for Washington State. He has the ability to be really, really good, and it geographically makes sense. He's already in the region. He might not even have to relocate his family if he does take this job. So all in all, I think this is the guy for me. I'm not looking at anybody else right now. But if this move happens, it won't come until, obviously, the offseason. He's not an interim.
Noah, not an interim. Correct. But I like the name. They put up so many points. I almost took North Texas as my lock last week because they were like -1.5 against Army. They jumped out to a huge lead, let the Cadets come all the way back, and then ended up escaping in overtime. But Noah, did any of these names jump out at you? Is there another name that you thought that I didn't say that you think would be a good fit here?
It's it's a tough call. I think of the guys you mentioned, there's probably about I'd say 4 that kind of stuck out to me. The first one was Eric Morris, which Tom already mentioned. Very good coach. The Mean Green looked very mean this year. They're off to a 4-0 start. GJ Kinney, again, another one. Texas State, definitely not a master school, but they're 3-1 to start the year. The only issues I would have with those guys is that it's a big difference in coaching teams like that compared to
Correct.
coaching a team like Oklahoma State. I mean, we'll go back to I feel bad bringing up this guy again because we just kind of been dumping on him for 3 years. But remember Billy Napier, who looked awesome with a team at the level of UL Lafayette, and then he goes to Florida, and it's just the biggest embarrassment you've ever seen. That would be a question mark for me as well. I also think Colin Klein was an interesting one to mention. He's a younger guy as well. I mean, he's so young. I remember when he played, and that I mean, that's how young of a guy he is. But he's had a decent amount of OC experience as well. And then Holgerson, I think, was another interesting one. I think Holgerson is probably their best choice if they want to go for an experienced coach. If they want to try and get back to, that level Oklahoma State is usually happy with 8-9 wins. He's probably, one of the safer picks because he has experience with teams like West Virginia, Houston for a very long time. But he's not that coach that's going to take you next level, right? He'll just have you as, probably a decent to above average team. If they want to take a chance on a guy, then it'll probably be one of those younger guys that are a bit more high risk, high reward. Zach Robinson, I mean, it's tough to say, right? Because obviously, I'm biased on this one. You do see these occasions where NFL OCs that don't look that good at the NFL level go to college and look really good. One example, Steve Sarkisian of the Texas Longhorns was also, funny enough, former Atlanta Falcons OC, was really not that good. Went to Texas, look where they are now. So, I mean, you never know with one like that. Another college guy, I might just throw this one in because I'm biased, but I think Glenn Schumann from UGA is a really good coach. He's been at what do you call it? Linked to some head coaching positions in the past. So I mean, but he's more of a defensive guy. I'm not sure if they want to go for that or an offensive guy. But I mean, to be fair, it's not like whoever they bring in is there's a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. And so
yeah, that's a good way to put it. A guy I wanted to throw out is Arbuckle, the OU offensive coordinator. Could they lure him out of Norman to come over to Oklahoma State? I think that'd be really interesting. He's a young guy that's been on the rise. He was selling like rocks or like stone or something in Texas. I believe he was at Houston Baptist with Bailey Zappi originally and then went over to Western Kentucky. So that'd be an interesting one for me. But yeah, it's kind of, what do you want to do here if you're Oklahoma State? Do you go after a proven a retread guy, or is it a young new face to try to resonate with the younger recruits and stuff like that? So that's interesting. So we adapted to our little segment here, but we have 3 other guys that I think are worth mentioning. So it's getting hot in here. Not a great start. Of these 3, whose seat is the hottest? Who gets let go? If so, who would be the first? It's so funny. I wrote this and fucking before we could even start, one of them got fired. So the other 3, I have Dabo Sweeney, Sam Pittman, and Luke Fickell. So I'll start. Dabo, I think his seat is the least warm just because of his history and like kind of what you were speaking to earlier, Noah, with Mike Gundy. It's like, well, it's not like he's won a national championship or anything.
Yep.
Dabo's won a couple of them. So, you kind of give this guy a little bit of a leash. So I think his seat is the least hot. I think Pittman's is the hottest. And I think Luke Fickell is right under him. If you talk about Sam Pittman, so he got hired. His first season was COVID 2020. He was 3-7. They gave him a new contract in 2021 and basically said, throw that season out. That's a wash. It doesn't matter. So since then, I believe he's 29 and 25. Overall, he is 32 and 33 as the head coach of Arkansas. We were talking about buyouts earlier. So if his record since 2021 dips below 500, the Razorbacks would owe him just 50% of his remaining contract. Otherwise, they must pay out 75%. Put simply, Arkansas would have to get 4 games under 500 for the buyout to drop to that lower tier. With the Razorbacks sitting at 2-2, the earliest that could happen is with 4 consecutive losses. It's also worth noting that Pittman's contract is through 2027, so he has 2 full years left after this year. Thanks to a pair of $250,000 raises triggered by 7-win seasons in 22 and 24, he's making $5.5 million in base salary, not including the retention bonuses sometimes included in his salary total. That means he's on the books for another $11 million. However, if he's let go before the end of the calendar year, Pittman's buyout would also include a portion of the 2025 remaining contract. Not great. They are locked in to, well, I guess they're not really locked in, but just to give you an idea, and this is from bestofarkansassports.com. A shout out to them for the article. So he's a guy that hasn't necessarily performed. You got a couple raises. They've won 7 games a couple times. Woohoo. Noah, this is a guy you're familiar with.
Correct.
I also let's talk about Luke Fickell because he is wow. I mean, he's had some bad injury luck with the starting quarterbacks, but so Paul Chris got fired. He was 67 and 26, 43 and 18 in the Big Ten, 3 Big Ten West Division titles, 6-1 in bowl games. He got fired because he lost to who? Illinois. A good Illinois team, by the way. They go and hire Luke Fickell, who at the time everybody was like, this is a great hire for Wisconsin. Slam dunk. Luke Fickell is 15-15 at Wisconsin during his tenure. Kind of like your friend Billy Napier, Noah. We talk about his record compared to the guy before him. I mean, Wisconsin legitimately like built that up for like 30 years. Like, who were they? They're going to run the ball. They're going to play good defense. They're going to win 8 to 10 games a year, and they're going to compete for Big Ten titles all the time. They might not necessarily compete for national championships, but they're going to be every couple years, they're going to have a really good team. And now it feels like in 3 years, that's just been completely torn apart. So I think Luke Fickell can survive this year just because he can say, man, I lost my starting quarterback for the year, 3 years in a row. Like, what do you what do you want me to do? I think Sam Pittman doesn't necessarily have all of that in his back pocket. So my list would be Pittman, Fickle, Dabo Sweeney. Noah, I'll go to you next. What's your take? Who's got the hottest seat? Who should be on the lookout? Who should be looking over their shoulder? What's your assessment of this situation for these coaches? Not off to a great start so far this year.
Well, first of all, the safest one, and I'm glad you picked up on what I said earlier, Andy, because I did say that intentionally about the national championship thing. Safest, in my opinion, is Dabo. He has a lot of credit there, a lot of credit in the bank. The two national titles. But even when they haven't been, in national contention rank, they're still, 9-10 win team. Sometimes, winning the ACC. I mean, they were in the CFP last year, weren't they? So I mean, they've done
Right.
he's still doing a solid job. This is just really a disaster year so far, for sure. But I don't think it's enough to warrant firing him just yet. Um, Next, second hottest seat. I actually have a bit of a different view of Sam Pittman. Now, maybe I'm biased, but in my opinion, I don't actually think he's that bad of a coach. First of all, I think Arkansas, talent wise, the entire time he's been there, has been consistently one of the worst SEC teams in the entire league. Now, you can put some criticism on him in regards to recruiting there. I understand that complaint, but I mean, he has won 3 bowl games. He's had a few winning seasons in there. They're around 500. I think the main reason his seat is hot isn't the fact he's a terrible coach. It's just the fact he's been there for like 6 years or whatever. And, they're just kind of in the same position. They might want to make a change there. But hey, if they do fire him, I'm not going to complain because what UGA should do is immediately call up Stacy Searles, offensive line coach, say, "You're gone, buddy," and beg Sam Pittman to come back because when he was here, man, our offensive line was stout. He's a great offensive line coach, and if he does get fired, I don't think he'd be unemployed for very long. The reason I Luke Fickle is an interesting one. Now he's another one. Again, he was amazing at Cincy, but coaching at a Big Ten team like Wisconsin is a whole different beast. I think he's had some bad luck, especially with quarterbacks. I mean, I swear, I think you mentioned Andy, like 3 straight years they've lost a quarterback in like the first 3 weeks of the season. I mean, that's just a terrible luck. But the reason I think his seat could be a little hot is I think you're already starting to see the fans turn against him with that fire Fickle chant that those fans had. Look, whether it's fair or not, once fans start turning on a coach publicly and loudly, that is really hard for teams, ads or whatever to overlook because they're all about making money. What looks best for their team? It is not a good look for a team when the crowd is openly chanting for your coach to be fired. And again, I mean, whether that's fair or not, that's just the way it is, guys. I will say as well for Sam Pittman, in his defense, his losses are to Memphis and who was the other one? Old Miss. Their combined record this season, guys, 8-0. So it's not like his team's lost to nobodies. But yeah, I just think I don't think they should fire Fickle yet. I think they should give him some more time. The guy has had some bad luck in there. But if this season keeps going downhill and he has another, back-to-back losing seasons, they do play Michigan as well in their next game, by the way. So at Michigan as well. So I don't think his seat is going to get any hotter. They got games against Iowa, Ohio State at, oh my God. Never mind. Their 4 next games are absolute chaos. So if they fall to like 2-6, yeah, I'm sorry, Luke Fickle, buddy. You might want to start polishing up that resume.
Notre Dame defensive coordinator Luke Fickle. Watch out for that. After he, well, I shouldn't say after he gets fired. If he gets easy, it makes sense, Tommy. Tommy, give me your list here. What do you make of this situation? Who is on the hottest seat of the 3 coaches that we were talking about?
So I guess I'll slightly disagree with Noah here. Yeah, well, while yes, I think Sam Pittman is a good coach. He is 7-19 in 1-score games. That's bad. That can't happen. I get it. You're coaching in the SEC. I just don't know if Arkansas is the right fit for him anymore. He's below 500 before, like Andy said. He's making $5.5 million in base salary, and he's only under contract through 2027. So if you look at the contracts and the way that they're structured, out of these three, Pittman has the easiest out in terms of that contract specifically. Yes, he is 3-0 in bowl games, and that is impressive. But let's take a look at the records over the past several years. 2020, 3-7. 2021, 9-4. 2022, 7-6. 2023, 4-8. 2024, 7-6. And when I look at the Hogs' upcoming schedule, you host Notre Dame this weekend, then you're at Tennessee, then you host Texas A&M, and then you host Auburn. Then you host Mississippi State, at LSU, at Texas, host Missouri. They win maybe 2 more games this season at best, right now, with the way this schedule is structured. Sam Pittman is gone after they start 2-5. I think they lose their next 3 games to Notre Dame, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. I don't think he makes it to Auburn week. I think he's gone. And I think it's more about the area that Arkansas is in. And like Noah mentioned before, with the NIL and the way things are trending with the recruiting cycles, it's very tough to adapt. So I think they could use somebody that's better. I'm not saying Pittman's doing a horrible job, but they could use an upgrade at that position specifically. So the verdict for me is Pittman's seat is the hottest. He's gone after Texas A&M game. Now, with Dabo, he's safe for now. I'm going to put an asterisk next to it because the only way I think he gets fired is if he forces himself out. And what I mean by that is he made a comment the other day, which was pretty interesting, guys. He pretty much dared the Clemson administration to fire him if they're tired of winning. That's not something you should be saying. It's kind of a boneheaded statement, if you ask me. Yeah, look, he's the most successful coach in Clemson history. If he leaves, Clemson, you might as well kiss national titles goodbye for a very, very long time. Yeah, they're 1-3 right now, and this season is a wash. But you also got to look at the players on this team. Antonio Williams has not been available. Adam Randall is not utilized the way that he should. Cade Klubnik has been really, really underwhelming, if you ask me. But you look at his records, right? Okay, he's been the coach since 2009. 181-50 record, 12-9 in bowls, 6-5 in the CFP. That's above 500 in the playoff. 9-time ACC champions, 2-time national champions, 2-time ACC Coach of the Year, and 2015 AP Coach of the Year. Contract-wise, he signed a 10-year, $115 million extension in 2021. That runs through the 2031 season. He's under contract for the next 6 seasons after this one. His buyout currently sits at $60 million, and it only drops to $57 million next year. He is, in my opinion, 100% safe unless he does it to himself and forces himself out with his mouth. That's the only way that he's gone. I will say, though, Clemson has lost at least 3 games every year since 2021. That is something to keep a note of because that will not get an ACC team to the CFP, in my opinion. And lastly, Luke Fickell. Yeah, look, remember when Brian Kelly left? Luke Fickell was a guy that was talked about to be our next head coach. Instead, we went with Marcus Freeman, which I think was the correct decision. I would love to get Luke Fickell to replace Chris Ash. I mean, it stinks that Al Golden left. I mean, you look at the way this guy is right now. It's just not a good situation for the Notre Dame defense. And yeah, fire Fickell chants aren't great, especially when you were favored by like a touchdown against Maryland, and then you lose 27-10. Terrible. Look, people wanted Jim Leonard to get this job to begin with at the time of Luke Fickell's hiring. I'm not saying he's bad. I don't think he gets fired after this season. But if you look at their upcoming schedule, it's not good. They're at Michigan. They host Iowa, host Ohio State, at Oregon, host Washington, at Indiana, host Illinois, at Minnesota. They might only win 4 games this season. The reason why I don't think he gets fired is because who are you really able to replace him with right now? They're just one of the many teams. It's not just Wisconsin, guys. They're one of the many teams who have not been able to adapt to the expanded Big Ten. I mean, you could ask Andy Hopper. Brett Bielema has. He has. Luke Fickell has not. He's a good coach, but personally, I think it's more of a fit for Luke Fickell. He is not the right fit for Wisconsin. He only leaves if they get a guy who they know is a better fit and can do a better job. Right now, I think Luke Fickell is safe. That could change if they do not perform well. Try not to look at the record, guys. Look how they're performing on a week-by-week basis.
For sure. Some interesting comments here. I want to bring this up quickly before we get into our games of the week. Dabo Swinney, 10-year, $115 million contract slated to run through 2031. So sign that in 2021. His $60 million buy, if he were to get bought out this year, $60 million, that number drops to $57 million in 2026. So, big number. That would be the historic. It'd be second only to Jimbo Fisher's $77 million buyout from Texas A&M. So something to think about, some performances to watch, some teams to keep your eye on, and some coaches to watch. But yeah, his comments were interesting, Tom. If they don't want to win, I'll go somewhere else. Where would he go? Would he go to Alabama? Could he take the Florida job? Would he go to the NFL? Florida State, maybe? I don't know. Would be interesting. But let's get into the six-pack, our 6 games that we think you should be watching or keeping an eye on this week. We have a 3-4 ranked versus ranked matchups. It is going to be an awesome college football Saturday. We're going to start it off. Number 21, USC, coming to Champaign to take on the number 23 Fighting Illini. Big noon kickoff on Fox. The whole crew is going to be here in Grange Grove. I will be out there. Look for me on TV, boys. I'll be the one in orange. Wink. So we'll start off. Obviously, last week sucked. What Illinois is going to have to do is basically everything different. Is you're going to have to protect the quarterback. Luke's going to have to get the ball out. You're going to have to get pressure on Jaden Mayava. You're going to have to cover. You're going to have to cover really well. They have their skill positions are so good. They take a ton of deep shots. They're one of the top passing offenses in the nation so far, and they haven't turned the ball over. By the way, their defensive line, I believe, is leading the country in sacks and tackles for loss. The O-line is going to have their hands absolutely full. Aiden Lawfrey, I believe, will be back, so you'll get some help there. Justin Bowick back, so you get some help in the receiving corps. I'll tell you this, guys. It will not be as bad as last week. It can't be as bad as last week, can it? Holy fuck. They have to show up. I'm really interested to see what they've installed this week in practice, what the response from this team will be. I'm not going to pick against my guys. I'm going to take Illinois, but it's going to be an uphill battle, and don't be shocked if the Trojans win the game. Tom, I'll start with you on this one. USC, the Illini, what do you think?
Yeah, Trojans coming off a 2-possession win against Michigan State. Mayava was impressive this season. He's proven to be a dual threat, turnover-free machine, 9 touchdowns, 0 picks, 4 rushing touchdowns as well. That's a 13 touchdown to no interception ratio. I like that. They're undefeated, and they're favored by a touchdown for a reason. They averaged 252 rushing yards per contest. Waymond Jordan, 443 yards and 3 touchdowns. Eli Sanders, 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. And you add their pass-catching weapons into the fray. You got Mekhi Lemon, who's been awesome. 3 scores. Jacoby Lane, big-bodied guy. Lake McCree, the tight end, is the X factor of this offense in the red zone. He is that type of dude. Bishop Fitzgerald has a knack for causing turnovers, 3 interceptions. I like Eric Gentry at linebacker, who's going to be seeing, a lot of the tight end room for Illinois. And then you look at their pass rushers. Braylon Shelby, 3.5 sacks. Cameron Crawford, 2.5 sacks. Both guys are good with their hands. When you look at USC, their biggest weakness, though, is their discipline. When you're going on the road against a quality Big Ten school, that can be difficult. And here's a key stat. They rank 129th in penalty yards per game in the nation. That is not good. They're towards the bottom. Luke Altmaier. Look, say what you want about Illinois last week in their performance. He's one of the better quarterbacks on the Big Ten. I think he's played well this year. He's been through a lot of adversity over the years, and I think relying on the run game is key. Andy, you have some good running backs for Illinois that can carry the load if need be. My question is, who's going to step up outside of Hank Beatty, right? If USC takes him out of the game plan and contains him, who do you go to next? I just don't know if Illinois has that guy. Could Colin Dixon be that guy? I don't know. That's the big thing with Illinois. I don't see as many weapons offensively, and their inability to control the line of scrimmage last week against Indiana. Don't get me wrong, I might be biased. Indiana has the best center in college football in Pat Coogan, who played in last year's national championship game. But yeah, man, I really want to pick Illinois here. I don't want to do it 2 weeks in a row to you, Andy. USC wins outright. Illinois covers.
Hey, REO Speedwagon at halftime. We'll hope they get the boys riled up. It's homecoming, big noon kickoff. You hope it is, but it's just like, man, this offense is so explosive. It just makes you nervous, especially after last week. All right, Noah, here's your opportunity. You've already done it a couple times. You can fully shit on Illinois. Just go ahead, pick the Trojans. Tell me how bad it's going to be. Go ahead.
Man, I mean, talk about, after a game like last week where they just lost 63-10, you'd hope for kind of like a tune-up game after that, but this is not the case, man. This Illinois team, they're 4-0. They've looked really good so far this season, especially offensive. I mean, I'm looking at some of their ranks, guys. I mean, listen to this. They have the third best team in the FBS offensively, 583.8 yards per game. They're 11th passing, 12th in rushing, and 5th in scoring, 52.5 points per game. On the other side for Illinois, Illinois, like I know that, you joke about their game last week, but they're still a solid team. I mean, we were just talking about, maybe 2 weeks ago, guys, about, definitely one of the top 4 teams in that Big Ten, but I'm looking at some of their rankings as well. They're kind of surprising. 103rd in offense. Their passing is 75th, rushing 102nd. They have some issues. And I think both defenses, let's just put it like, I think both these defenses are very sus. I mean, considering what we saw from Illinois last week, that was not good. USC gave up 31 points to Michigan State last week. There's some holes for sure. I don't think either of these defenses are what I would call elite. I think this game is going to come down to 3 things. Number one, third downs. Illinois has to get off the field on third downs defensively. USC is elite this season on third down guys. They're converting 56.1% of their third downs. Number 2, turnover battle. Both of these defenses, despite their issues, have been decent at getting takeaways, and their offenses have been taking care of the ball. If you look at turnover margins for both these teams, Illinois is 10th in the FBS with a +5. USC is 19th with a +4. So which offense can take care of the football better? And number 3, I think it's going to come back down to which team defensively is able to contain some of these star players better. I don't think you're going to be able to stop all these guys because they have a lot of talent. But I mean, you mentioned Maava. I mean, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. You want to talk about a good ratio? That is a great ratio. Illinois needs to stop the running game. Tom already mentioned they have a couple of solid running backs there. Elite rushing attack. I mean, Jordan is averaging almost 8 yards per carry as a starter. He's great. And my boy, Mekhi Lemon, what a name. But there's nothing sour about his play so far this season, man. He is on fire, over 100 yards per game so far this season. Momentum-wise, I kind of want to pick USC. However, sometimes it takes a game like last week to kind of wake a team up, right? And to their credit, this is a home game for Illinois. That game in Bloomington, I mean, it got out of hand really fast. So that's not exactly, an easy place to play. I mean, I think Tom mentioned last week, Illinois hadn't won there since 2011. So it's not, a game you can go in and expect to win easily, especially because Indiana was a CFP team last year. But I think because Illinois was close to the CFP last year, they're still a solid team this year. My gut feeling is I have a little more faith in them in a big game like this to come out on top. Whereas USC, while they are good, this is pretty much by far their biggest test of the season so far, right? So I'm going to pick Illinois to win. I would love to pick USC to troll Yandy, but I'm going to go with the upset because actually Illinois, from what I'm looking at, is a 6.5-point dog in this game. I think they're going to rebound. I think it's going to be pretty high scoring because, like I said, both these defenses have holes. But give me Illinois, man. Luke Altmaier, he's going to have a bounce-back game. He's completed 70% of his passes this season. He'll have a good game. I think both quarterbacks will do well. But give me Illinois to win this game 35-30.
High scoring one in Champaign. I love the prediction. That's not what I thought was about to happen, but I'll take it. So let's move on to our next one. Ole Miss is hosting LSU. So interesting one. We'll talk about this real quick. Announced this week, Landry Kiffin, Lane Kiffin's daughter, is dating Whit Weeks. They hard launched on Instagram. Whit Weeks, the LSU linebacker. Interesting they did that the week of the LSU Ole Miss game. Somebody tweeted about it and tweeted at Lane, and he responded and said, take the over. So he taking it personally. But Trinidad Chambliss has came in for Austin Simmons, and he's been awesome, guys. Completing 68% of his passes. He's got 6 all-purpose touchdowns, no turnovers, and he has led Ole Miss to a couple wins. They are favored currently. I believe the line's at 1.5.
Correct.
As of right now, they're getting a slight edge for being at home. Noah, I'll start with you on this one. How do you see this one shaking out?
Man, another really tough matchup here. Both teams 4-0. SEC matchup in Ole Miss as well. Oh, well, okay. First thing I'll say, right? The big thing for LSU, even though they're 4-0 so far this season, the criticism has been their offense. This is not a game where they can afford their offense to have another off game because Ole Miss's offense is great as well. You mentioned my boy Trinidad. I mean, like, I don't know if he has a brother named Tobago, but what a name that is, especially for a quarterback. But he's been good this season. Kawan Lacey is explosive at running back as well. And in my opinion, probably the best skills player offensively, Harrison Wallace. I mean, this dude is just ridiculously explosive. Over 20 yards per catch this season, man. This is not a game where they can have, another slow start where they can rely on the LSU defense to keep them in. I think Ole Miss could put up points, and LSU is going to have to put up points in response. They're going to have to solve these offensive issues pronto. LSU defense will have to lock in, man, 17th in the FBS this season. So they do have it in them, but they're facing a top 10 defense in this one. Reason I'm leaning, as much as I want to pick Ole Miss, I'm leaning LSU in a tight game is this Ole Miss defense is not that good so far this season. They're 121st against the rush, which, I mean, that's bottom 10 in the entire FBS, guys, and 72nd overall. They are better at holding teams points-wise. They're 42nd in the FBS for 18.8 points against per game. But, I mean, we just talked about Arkansas, a few segments ago about, Sam Pittman's on the hot seat. This team almost lost to Arkansas, guys. They only won by 6. They won 41-35. And past that, I mean, they beat Kentucky by 7. Kentucky's not very good. The other 2 teams were Georgia State and Tulane, are obviously, not amazing by any means. Whereas, LSU, I mean, I know, Clemson has fallen off. That was still a big win at the time. They've looked decent since then. I don't know. In my opinion, I have a little more faith in LSU in a big game like this. I know that's hard to say because Brian Kelly's their head coach, but let's be honest, Lane Kiffin is not what I would call a big game coach either. I mean, anyone remember get the popcorn ready before his team went out and got absolutely Bama buzzsawed in that game, right? Give me LSU, man. I do think it'd be close, but I'm going to take LSU by a field goal.
LSU by a field goal is the pick from Noah Dibler. Tom, we'll go over to you.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a pivotal week for Garrett Nussmeier, right? He needs to play well. The offensive line needs to give him time. Caden Durham is their only option at running back that they like to use. They're more of a pass-first team. I mean, you look at Aaron Anderson, solid player, nearly 300 yards receiving. Barry and Brown's a good number 2 option. Bauer Sharp is a really nice tight end, underutilized in my opinion. And then you look at their defense. They have a lot of guys and a lot of guys who have been quiet so far. Let's talk about the guys who have been noisy. West Weeks, the brother of Witt, has been really good sideline to sideline, blitzes the A-gap well. Devon Keys is another guy that I really think has a good head on his shoulders. And then Harold Perkins Jr. is just all over the place. That linebacking core is going to give whoever's starting at quarterback for Ole Miss some problems. Deshaun Spears, 2 picks. Mansur Delane has 1. Quiet guys so far. Whit Weeks actually has been quiet, so maybe this, coming out here with Lane Kiffin's daughter will help him have a great game. Patrick Payton and Jack Pyburn, the transfer, have been quiet thus far, each with only half a sack. Expect them to go to war with the Ole Miss tackles, respectively. And then now I turn to the Rebels. I'm impressed in the 2 starts that Chambliss has made. He's thrown over 300 yards in each of them, but Simmons has been limited with a lower body injury. He has not looked as impressive. Lane Kiffin did say, though, he is undecided on who the starter will be. If Simmons is 100%, it'll be him, but I don't think he is. I think they roll out Chambliss again, unless something crazy happens during the course of this week. And I think Ole Miss has all the right pieces offensively to win this game. In Kawan Lacey, Harrison Wallace, Deuce Alexander, Daquan Wright, huge big play tight end. The problem is on defense. How are they going to slow down the Tigers? I just don't know. They're only favored by 1.5 at home. That's telling. The fact that you can get LSU at plus money here, guys, is pretty encouraging to me. Yeah, it's a big game. It's Brian Kelly. It's on the road. But give me LSU, and I expect Whit Weeks to have a monstrous game.
Whit Weeks, ladies and gentlemen, big week for Whit Weeks. LSU, Ole Miss. Ooh, some very good points brought up from you guys. And I am going to be different. I'm going to go Ole Miss at home for Trinidad Chambliss's name alone. That's enough for me to pick them. That's all I need. Let's move on. Ohio State is going to Seattle to take on the Washington Huskies. This is Ohio State's, I believe, first of 3 games. Three out of their next 4 games are on the road, and I believe this is their first one of those. Washington, a big win in the Apple Cup last week, 59-24 over the rivals Washington State. Ohio State obviously looking good, the number 1 team in the country, but this presents an interesting challenge. Tom, I'll start with you on this one. How do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah, so Julian Sayin, young quarterback, he'll be tested. He's completed 79% of his passes this season, 8 touchdowns, 3 picks, though. He's only been sacked once. That O-line is boss. They're really good at running the football. Bo Jackson and C.J. Donaldson are a really good 1-2 punch. And then you look at Jeremiah Smith, a guy who has big play potential, mismatch for opposing corners. And then if he's not open, they have Carnell Tate over the middle of the field. They have Max Clare as well at tight end. Defensively, I think Caden Curry has really stepped up this season. The problem is you want to see the Buckeyes finish on more defensive plays and get to the quarterback. That's going to be an interesting feat to accomplish against a slippery player like Demon Williams Jr., a guy who has not thrown a pick yet this season. He's been solid. He's been consistent. 2 rushing touchdowns, and the Huskies are going to be difficult to stop. They average 260 rushing yards per game. Jonah Coleman already has 9 touchdowns through just 3 games. Really impressive kid. He's very patient, right? When you're a running back, more often than not, guys just try to shoot the hole right away, and they don't let the play develop in front of them. I mean, if you guys watched the Giants-Chiefs game on Sunday Night Football, you saw Cam Scatterbo do it, right? He waits till the opening develops. If it's not there, he bounces left, and then he moves upward. That's what smart running backs do, and I think Jonah Coleman does that really, really well. So I think that gives them a shot to win this football game. Denzel Boston, solid receiver. And then Sayin does have to be careful since he is not immune to turnovers. You have Alex McLaughlin, the safety, who has 2 interceptions. And then their defense, they have edge rushers that can make plays. Jacob Lane and Isaiah Ward, those guys are not no-name players. They do have some relevance to their names. I think the Huskies will keep it close. 9.5 is an interesting spread. It is early on in the season. Buckeyes win, but Huskies cover.
Tom likes the number 1 team in the country to take care of business, but the Huskies to keep it close. Noah, what do you think about OSU and UW?
I think this is Julian Sayin's biggest test of his career so far. I mean, you could say Texas, but the first road start for a quarterback, guys, is always a massive one, and this is against no cupcake by any means. Washington 3-0 so far this season, dominant win in the Apple Cup last week. Although to be fair, you could say this poor Cougars defense, man, is just leaking all over the place. I mean, they get killed by North Texas as well. So we'll see if they can do that against a team like Ohio State. In my opinion, the biggest test for this game is Washington going to be able to finish off drives? This is a team or an opponent, excuse me, where you need touchdowns. You do not need field goals. You do not need, going forward on fourth down like Texas did and coming up short. Ohio State is number one in the country in red zone. They literally 0% of teams in the red zone have scored against them. Now, granted, most of that is the Texas game because they played kind of two tune-up games since then, but it's still interesting to note, and they have a great defense. Um, yeah, it's really tough for me. I do want to pick Washington, but and I do think they have a chance. I think the spread is kind of right. I think it will be a close game, but at the same time, I also have a kind of a sneaking feeling. It feels like there's a few games we see with Ohio State every year where people expect it to kind of be, oh, this is a tough game or whatever, and then Ohio State goes out and like wins by like 21 points or whatever, and they're always in control. I don't know if that game's going to be quite like this, but I think Ohio State is a better defense, and I think even though Washington has looked really good offensively, they have not played a defense even close. This Ohio State defense, so I'm gonna pick Ohio State to win it. First of all, over under 51.5. I think this is like way too high. I don't think it's gonna be even close to that with this Ohio State defense. Give me Ohio State to win this one, 24-14.
Another pick for the Buckeyes. I will take Ohio State in this one as well. I think Washington is going to jump out early. Ohio State will take care of business in the late second quarter and second half once they get settled in to the game. Next up, we're going to stay in the Big Ten. Number 11, Indiana is going to Kinnick Stadium, taking on Iowa, 2:30 p.m. on Peacock. So obviously Indiana riding high out off that big win. Iowa got a big win and made their offense certainly feel better about themselves last week. Friday night victory at Rutgers, a 31-21, I think was the final score there. Either way, Iowa's offense scored 31 points. Pat yourselves on the back for that one. Mark Gronowski, he's not going to throw the ball 40 times, guys, but he was able to get loose with his legs last week and scored 3 times on the ground. If Iowa is able to limit the mistakes and hold on to the ball, time of possession is going to be important. Can they run the ball and kind of establish anything against this very explosive Indiana defensive front? They might have a chance in this game. Noah, I'll start with you on this one. What do you make of it? Do we see another blowout from Indiana? Does Iowa have a chance of keeping this one closer? What do you think?
I don't think it'll be a blowout. First of all, I mean, Iowa still has an amazing defense. They've had amazing defenses for years, and this is a home game for them, and it's not an easy place to play, especially with a defense like that. I mean, defensively, they're 13th in yards, they're 7th against the rush, 24th and only giving up 14.5 points per game, and 32nd against the pass. So their defense is still good. However, on the other side, this Indiana defense is arguably even better. Third in the FBS in yards against. They're top 10 against the pass, fifth in scoring, and they're top 20 against the rushing attack. And while it is true, Iowa's offense looked much better against Rutgers. I mean, their offense looked balanced. They actually finally almost got 200 yards passing in a game, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but for how much Iowa has struggled, that is definitely a big improvement and something that should be commended in my opinion. But it's just really tough for me. They still have a lot of question marks offensively, and they're not playing any spring chickens on defense. Indiana has an elite defense. I mean, again, we saw it last week against Illinois. I mean, that defense came to play, man. They were ready to go. They dominated the line of scrimmage from the jump, pretty much. So in my opinion, defenses are similar, but offensively, this Indiana offense is just absolutely explosive. I mean, they're almost averaging 600 yards per game. They're second in the FBS. They're averaging over 300 rushing yards per game. They can pass the ball as well. We mentioned earlier Mendoza. He had like 5 touchdowns and only 2 incompletions. I mean, get in line. I just have way more faith in this Indiana defense against the Iowa offense than the opposite. So I am going to pick Indiana to win this game. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I do think it'll be decently close. 7.5 spread. Uh, it's probably about right. I might go a little higher. I think it might be like a 10-point Indiana win. A more defensive game, but Indiana 27, Iowa 18 or something like that.
All right, Hoosiers getting the victory in Noah's mind. Tom, what do you think about this one? Do the Hawkeyes stand a chance against Kurt Signetti's Indiana Hoosiers?
Yeah, they certainly do. Sometimes a dominating win against a good team could be followed by a letdown. We see that time and time again in sports. And it's interesting here that Indiana keeps their eyes on the prize, and that's the 1 week at a time mantra. Fernando Mendoza, he has looked phenomenal this season, to the fact that some content creators actually like him as a top 2-3 quarterback in this year's class, which is kind of crazy. And by the way, I entirely disagree with that statement. But I do think Mendoza has been a very serviceable quarterback, and he has a great system to play in. The Hoosiers average over 300 rush yards per game with 4 players over 200 yards individually. It's going to be very, very difficult to stop behind an excellent run-blocking offensive line, and they have players who can make big plays. Omar Cooper Jr. and Elijah Surratt, each with 5 touchdown receptions. And if they're not open, E.J. Williams does a lot of good work on those intermediate routes. Defensively, they got some dogs: Isaiah Jones, Tyreek Tucker, Mario Landino. Each of those players with 3 sacks. You got Lewis Moore with 2 picks, who did an excellent job blanketing the opposition last week. And Aiden Fisher is a guy who's always going to be a staple on that defense as long as he's a Hoosier. I really like what I see. Hawkeyes coming off a 10-point win against Rutgers. That was not an easy game for them. Gronowski, not the most dominating quarterback out there in the Big Ten, but he is a guy who is dangerous on his feet. He can make some plays. He's good in the red zone, getting in for scores. Jazoom Patterson and Xavier Williams are a decent 1-2 punch. I love what Iowa has defensively with Max Llewellyn. Leads the team with 4 sacks. And then you got Zach Lutmer as well, and Aaron Graves, guys that I think might be playing on Sundays one day. They have some dogs on defense, but it is not enough. They're going to get bullied. And if you guys remember last year, I know, Andy, you specifically, Indiana was a covering machine every single week. I mean, they just won and won and won. And a lot of it is their softer schedule. But in this case, Iowa's not a soft opponent. I think Indiana wins and covers the spread, though, for sure.
2 picks for the Hoosiers, make it 3. I think Indiana wins the game, and but Iowa keeps it closer than people will think. Let's go. We got 2 games left here. Another big one in the Big Ten. I think this is the game. Well, these last 2 are really close for game of the week. Number 6, Oregon, going to number 3, Penn State, 6:30 on NBC. Dante Moore's first big test in an Oregon uniform, going up against Drew Aller. I will never pick James Franklin. James Franklin is a tool bag. Give me the Ducks. Plus 3.5. Give me them outright. I think they win the game. Last time these teams played, it was 45-37 victory for Dan Lanning and Oregon. Some new faces on this team, and it looks a little different, but I like Oregon. Go Ducks. Tom, what do you think? Penn State or Oregon?
Well, look, as you mentioned, Dan Lanning against James Franklin. Last year, these teams met in the Big Ten Championship, where Oregon won. This is a team that averages 52 points per game, 255 yards on the ground, guys. Dante Moore's only been sacked once all season long. They run the ball well. DeCorian Moore is an outstanding X receiver to have. Malik Benson and tight end Kenyon Shadiq are really good players as well. And then Gary Bryant Jr. has 3 scores. He's a red zone threat. So all these guys do is make plays. I like Bryce Botcher on defense. Matayo Ukulele as well with 3 sacks. Defensively, they're going to cause Drew Aller some problems in this football game. Aller has been a bit underwhelming statistically wise this year, but these linebackers I just mentioned for the Ducks will be tested by this run game of Penn State. That's where this game will be won. Katron Allen, who averages 8 yards a game, can Oregon offset that? Keep him out of the end zone. Nick Singleton, more of their red zone back as well. 5 touchdowns on the season. That's not an easy task to contain him. And then this year, Penn State actually has decent wide receiver play outside of what they had last year with just Tyler Warren. Now they have guys that can make plays. Trevor Pena, Kyron Hudson. Tight end Luke Reynolds is going to be a good football player too, but offensively they have more weapons is the point. That could cause the Ducks some problems. And then defensively, they're not bad either. Tony Rojas, Dennis Sutton, each with 2 sacks. They are, they have a knack for causing turnovers. So Dante Moore has to be careful. This is a guy who originally bounced around. He was a Notre Dame recruit, then he went to UCLA, transferred. Now he's with Oregon. Ultimately, this is 3.5 is scary though, right? Because what do they know that we don't is what I'm asking here. I'm going to pick the Ducks to win outright because I just trust Dan Lanning more than I do James Franklin, but it definitely is scary with the West Coast team traveling, towards that East Coast area, that Northeast region, to go up against a quality top 5 opponent.
2 for the Ducks. Noah, what do you think?
Man. Well, first of all, my main thought is Drew Howard's got to lock in this game, man. If we watched him, in big games last season, he really struggled. I mean, against Oregon, since they're playing Oregon, let's bring that one up first. 20 of 39, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Ohio State, 12 of 20, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Less than 150 yards in that game as well. Tom's Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 12 of 23, 135 yards, no touchdown, 1 interception. Not really a big game performer from what we've seen. And I mean, you guys mentioned it already. James Franklin is the exact opposite of a big game coach as well. Dan Lanning, a guy I know very well, excellent defensive mind, a great head coach, in my opinion. He has really helped this Oregon team the last few years. Dante Moore as well. I got to give a shout out to this guy, man. Remember when he came in as that 5-star, electric prospect at UCLA? It didn't really work out. He didn't play last year. People are wondering if this guy would ever even get a shot. But he's gone in this season, man, 11 touchdowns to 1 interception, completing well over 70% of his passes. And, man, I got to say as well, this guy has one of the most beautifully sculpted afros I have ever seen in my life, man. It's just absolutely beautiful. But, he's electric as well. 2 really good defenses, in my opinion. Both, I'd say are top 10 in college football. Where I give the edge, however, is I just have more faith in this Oregon offense, guys, than I do this Penn State offense. I think, the only way I could see Penn State winning this game is the fact it's at home, and that is obviously a very tough place to play. But Dan Lanning, in my opinion, is a big game coach. I know that's kind of weird to say because, he did, lose the first round of the CFP last year, but he's got the team locked in, man. I think he can definitely get it done against the Penn State team that is not great in games like this against, opponents around their level, with big stakes. So give me Oregon to win this one. I think it'd be pretty defensive, actually. Let me over under is 52.5. I'm going to go with the under in this one. Give me Oregon 27-20.
Oregon 27-20 for Noah. That's a sweep for the Ducks. Takes us into our last game of the week. Number 17, Alabama, going to number 5, Georgia, 6:30 on ABC. We've got a dog fan here, so it's only right that we start with you, Noah. Big win last week or 2 weeks ago against Tennessee. Can they ride that momentum into this game and picked up another ranked win against Alabama?
Really tough to say, guys, because team-wise and momentum-wise, obviously, I think everything is in Georgia's favor. However, as we know, Alabama, I mean, there's no nice way to say it. They're a Georgia's bogey team. I mean, last season, again, we saw it. No Nick Saban, but yet Alabama was still able to get a win. It was very close, very exciting, definitely one of the games of the year, but they still ultimately came up big short. That said, this game is at home, and Georgia has not played at home against Alabama since 2015. Now, they did get killed in that game, but to be fair, that was Mark Richt's last season. Alabama still had Kirby Smart as their DC. That was just absolutely total mismatch. Georgia was not good this year. I think this will be much more of an advantage for Georgia this season. But they got to take care of the football, man. They're -1 in turnover margin, whereas Alabama is 4th in the FBS with a +6. Need to hold on to the football. Both offenses as well, I think they've looked pretty solid. I mean, Alabama struggled against Florida State, but since then, Ty Simpson this season, guys, 9 touchdowns, no interception. Great completion percentage as well. Their running game looks strong. Jeremy Bernard is really good. And Ryan Williams, while he has struggled, I mean, we saw he can be a big game player. He went off in that Georgia game last season. I think it's going to come down to number one, which defense is able to get more big stops on third down? Who wins the turnover battle? Who's going to win this quarterback battle as well? Can Gunnar Stockton repeat some of the rogues he had against Tennessee in that game? How's the running game going to do? We need a guy like Zachariah Branch to go off in this game because Georgia's offense really missed a number one level wide receiver last season. I think they had that this season. I'm going to be honest, guys. Every year I pick Alabama to win this game, hoping to reverse jinx. It basically never works. So I'm going to say fuck it this season. I'm going to pick Georgia to win this football game. I think it will be close. It's a rivalry game. Two really good teams. But I'm going to back my team, man. I think they can win this game. I think it'd be very close. Spread is 3.5. I think that's about right. I think Georgia wins this game by a field goal, 27-24. Go Dogs.
Dogs 27-24 is a prediction from Noah Dibler. Tom, how do you see this one going in the SEC?
It's really tough, man. You guys know how I feel about Georgia. Alabama has won the last 2 matchups by 1 possession. They've won 9 out of the last 10 matchups overall. Georgia's beaten Bama just once since 2007. That was, of course, the national championship game that they played in. And Ty Simpson is a guy who's developing. He's a young quarterback who I think could have some real success. Majority of their offense does come in the passing game, though. They're not much of a run football team right now. Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams, Isaiah Horton, those are the guys offensively you have to look out for the Tide. And then defensively, they just have 4 sacks as a team, so pressuring the opposition might be a problem. Deontay Lawson, Bray Hubbard need to get some plays in this game. Hubbard with 2 picks on the season. Their lack of a pass rush, though, against Georgia offensive tackles Monroe Freeling and Ernest Green is definitely concerning. I also like what they have in the middle with Drew Bobo. Coming off a bye week, Georgia's riding high, right? 3-point win against Tennessee. It was a tough game. They were down. They won it. Stockton's looked good this year. He's improving week by week. The 1-2 punch of Frazier and Phillips is key. Can Bama stop that? Noah mentioned their pass catchers. I'm a big Cash Jones fan. I think Cash Jones makes a play or 2 in this game. It would be a disservice if I did not mention him at least once when talking about Georgia. But defensively, dead serious here. C.J. Allen might be the best linebacker in college when the season is all said and done. He is that good, in my opinion. Noah might have a different opinion, or he may agree. I'm not sure. But the one concern for Georgia in this game is their turnover ratio as a team. I believe it's -1 for the season. They have to overcome that. Normally, I would also pick Alabama in this game. However, Nick Saban is no longer there. That, I think, was the major domino behind the dominating force of this rivalry. That has now been taken away. Yeah, Caleb DeBoer won last year. This is a different football team. I think Georgia wins it this year and finally breaks that spell.
We have 2 for Georgia. Make it 3 for Georgia. I'm going to hop on that train. I think Gunnar Stockton to this point of the season is more tested than Ty Simpson has been. Really, really impressed with going into Rocky Top, the situation that was at hand, being down and being able to come back and lead his team to a win. You have the home field advantage. You know, the fans are going to be fired up for this one. I think we have a classic coming down there in Athens, Georgia. So that is our 6-pack. We'll do our lock of the week, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. We thank everybody for joining us on this week's edition of the Tailgate Committee. And a reminder, check us out. All of our episodes posted every Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern, so 12 noon on Thursday on our YouTube, youtube.com/the Tailgate Committee. Give us a like, throw us a subscribe. We would really appreciate it. So let's lock it up. Give me your best pick of the week. Tom, you are undefeated to this point, so you have the honors, my friend. Who do you like this week?
Let's make it 5-0, boys. Indiana -7.5 against Iowa. I really like that. A little bit more than a touchdown. Write it down, folks. Put it in your books. The Cigarettes win by at least 8 points on Saturday, and I love what they bring to the table on offense.
Hoping for a lot of offense there. Tom's taking the Hoosiers. Noah, what do you got?
Well, finally got bounced back last week, man. Thank God for Washington absolutely spanking the Cougars 59-24 in the Apple Cup.
Revenge.
Got me back up to 2-2. I'm not going with the Cougars game this week. Learned my lesson on that one. I'm actually going with some action this week, guys, because nothing says lock of the week than predicting a game between two teams you know absolutely nothing about. But what do you guys know about the Central Michigan Chippewas buzzsaw, man? At home against the Eastern Michigan Eagles, who are 1-3, struggling bad this season so far. Central Michigan 6.5-point favorites. I'm not about the spreads. I just go for outright winner. Give me Central Michigan in a big game, 30-17 win for the Chippewas on download.
Bet that exact score, 30-17, folks. CMU over EMU, a big one in the MAC. Mine, Tommy, I'm sorry. Notre Dame -4 versus Arkansas is the pick for me. We were just talking about Sam Pittman and his seat being hot. Notre Dame saw one go through the hoop this weekend. Tom put a beating down on Purdue. I expect them to do that again this week. I think 4 points is not enough. Notre Dame wins by a touchdown. I finally got one. Speaking of seeing one go through the hoop, I'm now 1-3. Was spot on my FSU Kent State prediction. Maybe that should just be my lock of the week. Just pick against Kent State every week. Probably wouldn't be that bad. But I'm 1-3. Tom's 4-0. Noah's now 2-2. Just to keep you updated on that. But that'll do it from us. Week 5 of college football is here. This is the Tailgate Committee. We'll see you next week.